What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Still Waiting on the Economics to Trickle Down. As always, I am your host, Zach Cronin, and today we are going to be talking about Tyus Jones and how I think the Phoenix Suns might have the steal of the summer by signing him. Over the weekend, the Suns and Jones came together on a deal worth just $3.3 million for the upcoming season. A deal, to me, that is drastically under what Tyus Jones was capable of earning, or at least what I expected him to earn when free agency began. I felt that Jones was realistically capable of commanding 15 to 18 million. You look at the 2 seasons he just spent with the Memphis Grizzlies, played objectively the best basketball of his career. This past season in particular, he was fantastic, was ninth in the NBA in assists per game, shot above 40% from three as well, just cemented himself as a very reliable game manager and a very solid facilitator. That is the type of piece that any team looking to contend needs. It doesn't have to necessarily be a point guard, but when you look at the Denver Nuggets, who do they have? Nikola Jokic, excellent game manager, excellent facilitator. Mind you, I'm not comparing Tyus Jones to Jokic or to Drew Holiday, but I'm just explaining how every elite team needs a guy who can settle down the offense, get them into action, and find shots for role players when they need it. The Minnesota Timberwolves in Mike Conley benefited greatly from him being able to do just that. And I see Jones as very similar to Conley, especially when Conley was younger. Jones obviously is not as great of a defender, but these two are very similar to one another in terms of offensive output. Jones did also average 12 points per game last season. This is a correction. I think I said his last 2 seasons. I'm sorry, I lied. I said his last 2 seasons in Memphis. I meant his last 2 seasons in the NBA. He earned 14 million last year from the Wizards and then 15 from Memphis because he was obviously traded in the Marcus Smart trade, but whatever, the financials are still the same. That was just a little correction I had to issue. To see Jones settle on 3.3 was shocking. I saw folks online positing about how this new CBA is going to eviscerate the NBA's middle class, and I've done some thinking on that as well. I don't necessarily know if this is true or not. I do, however, know that when a new CBA is implemented, the first summer following that CBA, or the first or second summer following that CBA, is a little wacky with guys either getting overpaid or underpaid because franchises are looking how to best navigate this new format, especially with some of the alterations that were made with this CBA. I'm not too tapped in. I don't think I'm smart enough to understand all of the talk in the CBA, but there is a huge change around team building and how teams would be penalized more for issuing, I guess, larger contracts from what the language says. Again, I apologize if I'm butchering it, but I do know that teams are now apprehensive about the type of money that they dole out. And I also think that teams are becoming increasingly wary of bad contracts, especially because of the one stipulation that says teams cannot take on more money than they're sending out in deals. I believe that's how that works. And a guy like Tyus Jones obviously did not benefit from this. Gary Trent Jr. signed a minimum deal as well. These guys could have obviously gotten the mid-level exception or higher in this current market, especially Jones, again, considering how quality of a player he is. He's somebody who I would constitute to be very good, and he did not get paid like he was very good. If this was a couple years ago, this season that he had, realistically, he could have earned an $80 million contract, even despite the fact that he's 20. Not that he's old by any means, but his potential is tapped out. He's an iffy defender, but again, that's not really an issue if he were to go to a team like Philadelphia or a team like Miami who desperately needed a point guard and yet did not reach out to Tyus Jones in any way. I do also want to lay out that I am not criticizing the CBA. I think that Tyus Jones maybe overvalued himself on the market, which of course NBA players are known to do. I don't have the specifics of that, but if he was going into negotiations looking to make like Fred VanVleet money, Even like 20 to 25 million a year, I don't think teams would bite on that. I certainly would not if I were building a team. I'm not giving 25 million to Tyus Jones. I would feel more comfortable again around like 16, 17, 18. And clearly his agent was like, "Hey, you swung and missed on a big contract this season. Go settle for the league minimum. It's a 1-year deal. You'll be back on the market next season." And I think that going to Phoenix is the best opportunity for him. However, and this is a big however, the Suns very well can fuck this up. On this channel and on social media in general, I am not unaccustomed to making fun of the Phoenix Suns for critiquing them because I think how they went about building this super team basically fucked up any chances they have of contending, at least how the roster was last season. KD, Booker, and Beal on its own is not a poor big three. However, depth was an issue very clearly for them. And not having a true point guard was also very clearly an issue. There were sizable holes that this team needed to address, and I think the point guard hole was beyond filled. It was filled and then stuffed again. That's how massive these signings were with Morris and Tyus Jones. I will, however, not say that the Phoenix Suns were bad, obviously. I just don't think there's a lot of cohesion on this roster. Again, this is all going off of last season. KD was spectacular. I think that Devin Booker played very well considering what Phoenix was asking him to do. They were effectively asking him to play out of position. I mean, this guy averaged 7 assists per game. Devin Booker did. Nearly the same as Tyus Jones. And that's remarkable when you consider the fact that Devin Booker, for the majority of his career up until the last couple of seasons, was exclusively a scoring guard. I did a video on Devin Booker's passing. Actually, wow, that sounds really fucking weird. I did a video on Devin Booker's development as a playmaker, and I'm beyond impressed with how he's able to not only find these passes but to facilitate the offense. I still think that that is not his best position. He is best suited to be a scorer, to be a shot creator, to be a bucket getter for this team. And bringing in Jones allows him to retreat back to his natural position. Additionally, there will come a time when Jones is forced to play, or when Booker is forced to play with the second unit, and he can take on more playmaking responsibilities. There is a lot of variation with these lineups that Phoenix has. However, Bradley Beal cannot be a starter. Bradley Beal cannot start on this team if they want to best maximize Tyus Jones. I'm looking at a projected depth chart for this season. The starters are going to be Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen, Kevin Durant, and Yusuf Nurkic. That is 1 through 5. This is according to Real GM, by the way. I don't think this is going to work. I think you have to move Tyus Jones to point guard, slide Booker back to the 2, and bring Bradley Beal off the bench. I think that Allen, Durant, and Nurkic is a fine front court. I don't have any issues with that. But if they are serious about contending, if Bradley Beal is serious about adding a championship to his resume, this is the move that he's going to have to accept. And I don't know if Phoenix is going to push him to do that. I just simply do not have confidence in this franchise. It would be such a luxury to have Bradley Beal as your sixth man, because although his volume has obviously fallen off from when he was in Washington, he is still, in terms of his skill set, a very electrifying scorer. Like, this guy last season shot over 50% from the floor, shot 43% from 3, and his free throw attempts were down. So there is going to, like, Bradley Beal can have shades of him as he was with the Wizards if he comes off the bench. And even still, he will be able to play his natural position as well, because I think that the rightful move is to also bring Monte Morris off of the bench, who is also an exceptional game manager, an exceptional passer, and will be able to set up Bradley Beal or help Bradley Beal get set up for high quality shots. Like, the offense with this Suns team was not an issue. It was mostly defense and mostly fit for me. And those two go kind of hand in hand. Like, but there were problems with the offense as well in the postseason, later on in the season. If your offense gets rattled or you get shut down a bunch of possessions in a row, there is no way to calculate the positive impact that someone like Chris Paul has on the floor, like Drew Holiday has on the floor. Someone, even I would even throw Derek White in there. Someone, or we think about like Rajon Rondo back in the day, although I don't think Tyus Jones is on the level with any of those guys, but just being able to settle everybody in, be an extension of the coach on the floor. Because Tyus Jones is going to see things differently from whoever is on the sideline, and then he can take the game into his own hands. He can find shots for KD, for Book. It goes on and on. I really do feel that this has the potential to be a very impressive signing for the Suns, and I think it does a lot for them, especially when you consider the context of the Western Conference. Denver looks beatable. Minnesota looks beatable. Oklahoma City is probably the favorite. They're my favorite to win the title, but we've seen crazy things happen in the playoffs. It's also to consider that Dallas didn't get exceptionally better. I think they are I think they're going to be the same as they were last year. The Clippers took a huge loss with losing Paul George and Russell Westbrook, even though Russell Westbrook is in Denver. I don't really know how that's going to work out. There is a non-zero chance that Phoenix makes a deep run to the postseason. It just has to fall on really the organization doing what is right and putting Tyus Jones in the starting lineup alongside Booker and KD. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this video out. Thank you guys so very much for coming to hang out with me today. As always, everything I'm associated with is down in the description. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on this video. Drop a comment as well. It really helps out with the algorithm. If you do any of those three things, you will become my new favorite person. And with that, I will see y'all in the next one.